Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Troop 179's Eagle Court of Honor. On behalf of the troop and on behalf of the Eagles and their families, I welcome you to our Court of Honor. The first order of business is the presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to stand for the pledge. And when the colors are presented, we invite you to stand for that. And presenting the colors today is our Honor Guard led by Troop 179 Senior Patrol Leader Elena Carson. And would you please stand for the presentation of the flag of the United States of America.
Honor Guard, attention. Honor Guard, advance. Honor Guard, halt. Honor Guard, prepare to post the colors. Right hand salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Honor Guard, please post the colors. Honor Guard, return to post. About face ready, and color guard, retreat. Honor Guard, halt. About face ready, and Honor Guard at ease.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. I'll call on the Honor Guard one more time and ask them to escort our Eagle Scouts to the stage. Elena, if you would, please. Elena, would you and your Honor Guard please pick up each of the Eagle Scouts and escort them to the stage? Waiting for the... last, yeah. Hang on one second, Elena. Sorry. Said is first. So it's Said, Kouta, and... One moment, please. It's Said, Kouta. So they're going to get each scout individually to the stage. All right. Thank you. Elena, that's why I was looking at you and that's why you were looking at me. My apologies. So I think we're all back on track. So you gentlemen can be seated. Honor Guard, you can stand by. We're all back on the program. So with that slight faux pas out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, scouts and scouters, good afternoon. My name is Jason Pernick. And at Troop 179's annual summer camp, I am the representative of the International Commissary Commission, which, as every veteran of summer camp knows, is located at? Wow, that's usually more enthusiastic. Well, as I say afterwards, you better believe it. I also serve as the Troop Advancement Chair, and it is in that capacity that I am privileged to work with our scouts as they advance through the ranks. Among the most rewarding aspects of my involvement with the troop is the opportunity to serve on the Eagle Scout Boards of Review. It is there that I have the opportunity to meet with and listen to young men and women discuss their futures, recognizing that they are on the verge of being adults. Having achieved the pinnacle of scouting, these Eagle Scouts are preparing to go out into the world, the next generation of Americans who must take up the mantle of what it means to be an American. When the Eagle Board of Review has satisfied itself that the candidate has met all the requirements, the board certifies that the Scout is now qualified to be and has earned the rank of Eagle Scout. A happy occasion, to be sure. But there is something else at work during these boards, something other than just checking a box and signing off an application. We on the board want each Eagle Scout to take away from their Board of Review an understanding of what being an Eagle Scout means in their lives and in the life of our country. Our nation needs men and women who can step up and do what needs to be done, maybe more so now than at any time in the last 100 years. We must have those who can lead, who can follow, who can teach, who can serve, those who can do. The Eagle Board of Review is the last step in a long and arduous journey, a journey which is meant to instill in a young person the skills, the ethics, the values which will best serve that person on their journey into the future. During an Eagle Board of Review, candidates discuss their scouting journey with a panel of adults. We talk about what they learned in scouting and ask them to consider what they're going to do with their skills. Many of the Eagle candidates have some idea what they plan to do as they graduate from the program. Some have no idea. And we adults know that it's not uncommon for young people, having once decided on some course or another, to then find a new or different way to go. Knowing that there is this world of opportunity ahead of them, we on the board try to leave them with something that will be kind of an all-encompassing answer to the questions that we are asking them, that they ask themselves, that everyone else is asking them. Questions like, well, what next? Or why you? We ask them what the rank of Eagle Scout says about them. We want to lead them to one conclusion, one easy to remember, easy to understand, easy to express, useful in job interviews or any other situation in which it is necessary to sum up one's value. We want them to know this about themselves, that being an Eagle Scout means that you have proven that you are a person who can get things done. We're here to recognize today a singular achievement in the life of a Scout, the pinnacle of Scouting, the award of the rank of Eagle Scout to three extraordinary young men who have demonstrated that they indeed are people who can get things done. These three Scouts join 269 other Scouts who since 1972 have earned the rank of Eagle Scout as members of Troop 179. 269 men and women from our troop who have proven that they are indeed people who can get things done. Next, it's my pleasure to call on those who will introduce the Scouts. And so at this time, am I right, Elena? At this time, I'd ask the honor guard to escort Eagle Scout Said Baca Mora to the stage. Said, if you would, please. All right. Yep, have a seat. Congratulations. And then call on to introduce Said, Assistant Scoutmaster Jessica Mannanen.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm here today with the great privilege to introduce to you my friend, Mr. Said Baca Mora. When I started with this troop, Said was already here. In fact, the first things I heard about him were actually in reference to his younger brother, Axel. See, Axel was excelling at everything, and so people were referring to him as Little Said. It took me very little time to find that this was quite a compliment. And Said was known to be good at everything. I first noticed his competitive nature at Camp Rotary. We were running 179's version of Winter Olympics, and I was timing cross-country skiing. Said scored highest in his patrol and wanted to see everyone's scores, like the whole troop. And last year, while Said was a Paul Bunyan, he was also working hard on his athletic goals. During campouts, he would ask me to help him determine when he could get away for a run without missing any of his responsibilities. I noticed that Said showed up ready to teach scouts, ready to face obstacles head on, and encouraged other Bunyans to do their jobs to a higher standard. I was genuinely impressed by Said's ability to show up with a plan, understand that circumstances required modification, communicate what was frustrating, collaborate to solve the problems, and move forward. Completing a 2K at camp, trail cooking with scouts that we failed to inform they would need a fork, accepting a not-so-leftover pizza, using a flashlight to check for concussion after a particularly rough soccer ball to the head incident. All the memories that I have with Said bring a smile, a reminder to be resilient, and encouragement that challenges we face in scouting allow us to demonstrate the abilities and attitudes that will provide us the win in the real world. Today, I introduce to you my friend, Said Baca Mora, and I'm grateful for the experience and kindness that you've shown, and I look forward to the greatness that you'll bring to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And now I call upon the honor guard to escort to the stage Eagle Scout Kouta Horiguchi. Thank you. And to introduce Eagle Scout Kouta Horiguchi, Eagle Scout and Troop 179 Scoutmaster Chuck Williams.
Well, hello and welcome. I don't do this very often, so I hope I do a good job, Kouta. What I want to say about Kouta, he has persevered more than most any other scout that I've ever seen come through the troop, and I've seen many, many scouts. He joined, like most scouts do, in March, and on the first camp out that we were at in April, I had heard he had allergies, and I've had lots of scouts and kids that have had allergies. None had allergies like Kouta had. His eyes were almost as big as tennis balls, and the tears and stuff that were coming down. And we kept trying to give him, with talking to his parents, some Benadryl and some stuff like that to get it through, because he was not coming home. And he did it again the next month, and then the next month. And finally, by summer camp, they stopped. And it was just done. And that was nice. He went through several years of this before we all just realized, you know what, probably April and May are not campouts that you should try to come on. And so we've tried to make sure that he doesn't have to have a leadership responsibility in those months. But during his time, I think, first of all, Kouta is our first Japanese Eagle Scout, and he came here when he joined Cub Scouts. He had come from Japan, didn't know our language, didn't know our culture, came to fit in. And since then, by the time he got to Scouts, he knew quite a bit of English, and we were able to converse back and forth. And he was able to really enjoy the activities. And I think when I think of Kouta and his time in our Scouts, just pure joy in being outside, fishing, did a lot of fishing, and just enjoyed being a Scout and being outdoors and being there. And really, every year, me and Mr. Hooker, that you'll see later, sit down with every high schooler in the troop. There's about 30 of them. And we have a conversation with them during summer camp about what are your goals, where do you want to go in the next year, how can we help to make sure that that happens for you, and stuff like that. And so the first couple of conversations I had with Kouta were, he was happy doing what he was doing. He was a first-class Scout, and he was pleased with being a first-class Scout and being there. But after a couple of those times, somewhere about maybe a year and a half, year and 3/4 ago, Kouta came up to me and said, "Mr. Williams, can I be an Eagle Scout?" And I said, "For sure, Kouta, you can be an Eagle Scout. You're a great Scout." And we put towards putting down the task of what do you need to do, and we laid out a schedule that went for the next year and 3/4 to get him from first class to Eagle. And I mean, that's a big jump going between those two things. There's 2 other ranks that you got to get before that, Star in Life. And Kouta was able to stick to the schedule. We pretty much got everything done right on time, right up to the very end when he became his Eagle Scout, just back before his birthday. He finished his requirements, and your board review was like a month ago. I look at him and I'm impressed with that kind of perseverance. I'm impressed with the kind of Scout you've been. It's been a total pleasure being Scoutmaster for Kouta, as well as Said, as well as Nithin. Enjoy all of them. But Kouta has definitely put a spot in my heart. So thank you for the opportunity to speak for you. Everybody, Kouta Horiguchi.
Thank you, Chuck. And now I'd call upon the honor guard to escort Eagle Scout Nithin Ramkumar to the stage. Thank you. It is now my privilege and honor to introduce Eagle Scout Nithin Ramkumar. I don't know about you, but I don't like to have my picture taken. More to the point, I don't like looking at pictures of myself. And when I see them, I think, is that really what I look like? I don't like the way I look in pictures. And you could say that doesn't make any sense at all, but there it is. When you look at the photograph of Nithin in today's program, you won't have to wonder what he is like, because what you see is what you get. Nithin came to the troop when he was 13. He says he joined scouting late, but I don't think so. When Nithin joined our troop, the world was in the midst of the COVID pandemic, an extremely difficult time for the world, our country, our community, and for young people. Despite the challenges of the pandemic, the world kept turning, young people kept growing, and their families kept wanting what was best for them. Despite the challenges, Nithin's parents wanted the broadest range of opportunities for him. They knew that scouting provided an opportunity for Nithin to discover what was best about himself, what was best about America, and they encouraged him to join the troop and supported him along his journey. If Nithin's parents knew what was best for him, Nithin himself was not so sure. He was hesitant initially about joining the troop, not knowing what lay ahead of him, but soon he was making friends, learning to thrive in the outdoors, and making memories that will last a lifetime. He found challenges to overcome, he found growth, he found success. He learned that he could take risks, enjoy the challenge of doing something new, and savor the successes of learning to be resourceful. In our discussion leading up to this Court of Honor, Nithin told me that he was not outgoing initially. Well, if you know Nithin, you know why I found that hard to believe. But if it was true, look what Scouting has done for him. He sits here today confident, excited, and ready for what the future has in store for him. Among Nithin's favorite merit badges were two that I teach, Citizenship in the Community and Citizenship in the Nation. And working on those, he visited a local courthouse and saw what he told me was the law in action. Nithin found that Scouting contributed to his understanding of and appreciation for America, its people, and the opportunities that exist here. He found that even if his professional interests lie elsewhere, that he wanted to contribute to the success of his community, and he knew that service to others was a way that he could do that. Nithin looks forward to having a family and to seeing his children join Scouting and find those things in it that he did. Nithin told me initially that he was reluctant to join Scouting. His advice to anyone who's thinking about Scouting and is also reluctant is to say yes and enjoy the time, enjoy the opportunity, enjoy making friends. Nithin told me that passion drives process, that passion drives progress. That passion will take Nithin through life. Even if we're not sure exactly where, we know that his passion will take him to where he will find success, happiness, and fulfillment. Earlier, I mentioned that when you look at Nithin, what you see is what you get. What you see is a young man who is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. You see someone who has proven, in fact, in all of them, you see someone who has proven that they are someone who can get things done. You see in all of them an Eagle Scout. It is my privilege and honor to introduce to you Eagle Scout Nithin Ramkumar. And next, to provide the investiture for our Eagle Scouts, a change in our program, Assistant Scoutmaster Jeff Ely. Jeff?
To become an Eagle Scout, you have been tested in every area of scouting. Through the ranks of Scout, Tenderfoot, Second Class, and First Class, you were required to learn scouting skills. You tied knots, found your way with a compass, learned to cook, learned to camp, learned to care for yourself and others. Upon gaining the First Class rank, you were ready to enter the next phase of scouting, learning leadership. You earned the star and life ranks by earning merit badges, successfully completing leadership positions in the troop, and giving service to your community. After earning the life rank, you were fully trained for the challenge that scouting presented to you, the Eagle Scout requirements. Requirement 1 challenged you to remain active in scouting. Requirement 2 challenged you to continue to live by the principles of the oath and law. To prove that you had done this, you were required to obtain letters from individuals who know you personally and would be willing to attest to your conduct as a scout. Requirement 3 challenged you to earn 21 merit badges, 14 of them required and 7 electives. For each of these merit badges, you were required to select and meet with a counselor approved by Scouting America and satisfy them that you were knowledgeable in the requirements. Requirement 4 challenged you to prove your abilities as a leader. You had to secure positions in the troop and be responsible for completing the requirements of the position. You were pushed to be the best leader and meet a standard set by those who held it before you. Requirement 5 challenged you to plan, develop, and give leadership to others in a service project that benefited the community. This project was required to be approved by your Scoutmaster, the Troop Committee, and the Michigan Crossroads Council. Requirement 6 challenged you to reflect on your future life and write a statement that listed your ambitions and life purpose. You presented this plan to your Scoutmaster, who reviewed it with you and determined if you were fully ready to become an Eagle Scout. After fulfilling all of these requirements, you reached the last part of your scouting journey, the Board of Review. Your troop committee conducted this board with a representative from the Michigan Crossroads Council in attendance. They reviewed all of the requirements to ensure that you have met every challenge from Scout to Eagle Scout. Following the conclusion of the Board of Review, our troop committee, together with the Michigan Crossroads Council, submitted your application to the National Council of Scouting America for consideration and approval of your designation as an Eagle Scout. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, and Roger A. Crone, the Chief Scout of Scouting America, Brad Tilden, the National Chair, and W. Scott Sorrells, the National Commissioner, signed the application of Said Baca Mora, Kouta Horiguchi, and Nithin Ramkumar, officially making them Eagle Scouts. Gentlemen, it has been my pleasure to serve in this troop with you. It's been a joy.
Thank you, Jeff. And now I'd like to call on Eagle Scout Mike Schultz, Troop 179 Assistant Scoutmaster, for the presentation of the Troop 179 Eagle Scout belt buckle. Mike?
Good afternoon. As Mr. Pernick said, I'm the Assistant Scoutmaster, Michael Schultz. There is a highly prized trophy that most everyone gets when they go to Philmont Scout Ranch in New Mexico, and it's a bronze belt buckle. Kind of looks like that. And it's something that only people get that have gone through that trek there. Is a difficult achievement. And so back in 2016, for the troop's 50th anniversary, we had the idea of coming up with a similar thing for the troop, and we created these bronze belt buckles with a Babe the Blue Ox and other information about the troop on there with the name and the founding year. And they're actually made by the same Eagle Scout from New Mexico who makes the Philmont buckles. And if you're interested, we can get you one of those buckles for a nominal cost. Anyway, about that same time, we decided that to make a different buckle that is the same design but in a silver pewter finish that is the same color metal that they use for the Eagle Scout medallion, and that's specific for the Troop 179 Eagle Scouts. In the scouting program, silver is the highest level metal, and gold is below that, and bronze is below that. And so it's kind of the opposite of the Olympics, or at least a different order. And so these silver buckles are unique to Eagle Scouts from this troop that earned it in the troop. And I'm going to present one of those to each of these Eagles today. And interestingly, since we started doing this in 2016, there's a full 25% of the Scouts that have received their Eagle from the troop has gotten one of these buckles. And the sale of the bronze buckles was intended to be a fund that just supplied the free buckles to the Eagle Scouts. And so these buckles I present to the three Eagles today, and they are each stamped with their sequential Eagle Scout number 270 for Nithin, and 271 for Kouta, and 272 for Said. And these are not just for uniform, although intended for it, but you can wear them anytime on a leather belt if you'd like, and show it off to the world. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you, Mike. And now for the charge to Eagle, I call upon Eagle Scout Greg Hooker, Troop 179 Assistant Scoutmaster. Greg?
All right. So I get the honor of giving the charge to the Eagle Scout. It's something that only an Eagle Scout can bestow upon fellow Eagle Scouts. So if I could get the Eagle Scouts to stand up front and center, and then if I could get all the Eagle Scouts from the crowd to come up and stand in front, because this is now who you represent. So get up here, yeah. Come on, both of yous. All right. I have the honor to give you the Eagle Scout charge on the occasion of your elevation to the highest award in scouting. The Scouts of all nations constitutes one of the most wholesome and significant movements in this world's history. You have been judged by Scouting America as being worthy of this honor. All who know you rejoice in your achievement. Your position, as you all know, is one of honor and responsibility. You are now marked men. As an Eagle Scout, you have assumed a solemn obligation to your duty to God, to country, and to your fellow Scouts, and to all mankind in general. This is a great undertaking. As you live up to your obligations, you bring honor not only to yourselves, but to all your brother Scouts. America has many good things to give to you and to your children after you, but these good things depend on, for the most part, of the quality of the citizens of the country. Our country has had a great past, but you can help make an even greater future. I charge you to undertake your citizenship with a solid dedication. Be a leader, but lead only toward the best. Lift up every task that you do and every office that you hold to the highest level of service to God and to your fellow man. So live and serve that those who know you will be inspired to finer living. We have too many that use their strengths and their brains to exploit others and to gain selfish ends. I charge you to be among those who dedicate their skills and ability to the common good. Build America on a solid foundation of clean living, honest work, unselfish citizenship, and reverence to God. And for whatever others may do, you leave behind you a record of which every scout will be justly proud. Eagle Scouts, you will now rededicate yourselves by repeating the Scout Oath. Repeat it slowly as you stand before your fellow Eagle Scouts and all here today. Resolve to uphold forever the principles and the same ambition and perseverance that have brought you this far. Scout signs. On my honor. Two, your conduct along this trail has been excellent. You have now rededicated yourselves to the principles of scouting. But one more thing I must stress that is very important is your future. As an Eagle Scout, you become a guide to other Scouts. You become an example in your community. And remember that your actions are now a little bit more conspicuous, and people expect more from you. To falter in your responsibilities not only reflect on you, but all the Eagle Scouts before you and all of Scouting. The torch that you carry is not only yours, but it is all of ours. Congratulations.
And now I call upon Eagle Scout Chuck Williams for the presentation of the Eagle rank. Chuck.
All right. So everybody, you've heard a little bit about what an Eagle Scout is. And Eagle Scouts have built their reputation on the fact that they get things done. Whether you're at work, whether you're at a volunteer thing, whether you're at church or some other religious organization, you get things done. And you've proved that here today. And that, when we talk about colleges that want to recruit Eagle Scouts and give extra points and credits to Eagle Scouts to get into that college, or the military who automatically raises you up a rank in the military because you're an Eagle Scout, or businesses all over the world and all over our country that hire Eagle Scouts. And it's all solely based really on the fact that they know you can get things done. You took a big task at this age in your life, and you completed all that task to get it done and to get to this point. And for that, you should be really proud of yourself. I know that everybody here is very proud of you to be here today. All right. I will ask Said and his family to please con him up here. Stand center in front of everybody. Said is presenting a pen for his mother and for his dad to commemorate his Eagle Scout rank. The Eagle badges are harder to put on because they don't want it to come off. All right. Scouting America is proud to award the rank of Eagle Scout to Said Baca Mora, Troop 179 in Farmington Hills, Michigan, in recognition of successful completion of all requirements for Scouting's highest rank. Said Baca Mora. All right, Kouta, can we have you and your family come up front? Scouting America is proud to award the rank of Eagle Scout to Kouta Horiguchi, Troop 179, Farmington Hills, Michigan, in recognition of successful completion of all requirements for Scouting's highest rank. Kouta Horiguchi. Okay, I'm sorry. Nithin, can you please come forward with your family? Scouting America is proud to award the rank of Eagle Scout to Nithin Ramkumar, Troop 179 in Farmington Hills, Michigan, in recognition of successful completion of all requirements for Scouting's highest rank. Nithin. All right. Okay, parents. When I was a little bit older than these guys, not much though, I had moved out of the house and I took all of my awards and stuff that I earned with me. And my parents, especially my mom, was very distraught that I took my Eagle Scout stuff with me. And since then, when I became Scoutmaster, every Eagle Scout has a picture of himself in his uniform to present to you to keep, and that's yours to keep, not his to take with him when he goes off to do whatever else he's going to do in life. Anyhow, appreciate everybody coming, and I'll turn it back over to Jason.
Thank you, Chuck. Gentlemen, in a few minutes, I'm going to call on you for your comments, and as you think about them for a second, I'll give you an opportunity to reflect on what you've heard here today and share a few more thoughts. Let's take a look at 100 youth that joined Scouting. Of those 100, 12 will have their first religious contact, 5 will earn a religious emblem, 2 will enter the clergy, 18 will develop hobbies that last a lifetime, 8 will enter a career based on merit badge work, 17 will become Scout volunteers, 1 will use Scouting skills to save the life of another person, 1 will use Scouting skills to save their own life, 28 will continue lifelong hobbies started in Scouting, and of those 100 Scouts that joined Scouting, 3 will attain the rank of Eagle. There are some names that you may recognize as Eagle Scouts, some famous names as Eagle Scouts. You don't have to be famous to be an Eagle Scout, but it doesn't hurt. Eagle Scout Gerald Ford, President of the United States. Eagle Scout Steven Spielberg, film director and producer. Eagle Scout Robert Gates, Secretary of Defense, Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, and former President of Boy Scouts of America. Eagle Scout Mike Rowe, star of Dirty Jobs. Eagle Scout Hank Aaron, Baseball Hall of Fame member. Eagle Scout Steve Young, San Francisco 49er quarterback, and Eagle Scout Neil Armstrong, astronaut and first man on the moon. If you watched your Eagle Scout complete or help an Eagle Scout complete their Eagle project, you know how much work goes into the planning, execution, and follow-up on the project. Imagine what this must be like on a national scale. Can you guess how many hours an Eagle Scout project, Eagle Scouts spend on their projects annually in the United States? 1 million hours? 1 million hours? 5 million hours? 9.1 million hours are spent annually on Eagle Scout projects in the United States. 9.1 million. A few moments ago, I listed Apollo 11 mission commander Neil Armstrong among famous Eagle Scouts. As a measure of how important scouting was in Armstrong's life, consider this. If you've ever seen one of Apollo's capsules, you know how small they were. Astronauts could only carry with them a very few meaningful possessions, for them the most meaningful. As a measure of how important scouting was in Armstrong's life, consider this. While en route to the moon on what was the most astounding journey of discovery in modern history, Armstrong took time to recognize one of scouting's earthbound adventures. On July 18th, 1969, while flying toward the moon, Armstrong spoke to scouts gathered at the National Jamboree. He said, "I'd like to say hello to all my fellow scouts and scouters at Farragut State Park in Idaho, having a National Jamboree there this week, and Apollo 11 would like to send them their best wishes." Among the things that Commander Armstrong carried with him to the moon was a World Scout badge, that same badge we wear on the left side of our uniforms. And now, gentlemen, that you've had a moment to think about what you're going to say, I'd like to call on each of you in turn for your comments. First, I'd like to call on Eagle Scout Said Baca Mora. Said?
So for those of you who may not know, at the end of every meeting on a Tuesday, we do something called the Scoutmaster Minute. And I've always thought to myself, I could probably do that in under a minute. Well, I'm about to find out, and I don't think I will succeed. When I first joined the troop, I was really eager to get Eagle. When I was told that Eagle was the greatest thing you could get as a scout, that's the first thing I wanted to do. But as I kept going through those first few months, and I realized just how much I had to do, at the time I was motivated, I was sure that I could do that. But then I thought to myself, what if one day I wake up and that's not something I want to do? But ultimately, I found that it wasn't just a decision that I would make on my own, because I am upheld by others around me. I do not decide how my story ends just by myself. And there's two particular stories I want to tell. Mrs. Connie and I, who is not here, we were hiking the Chief Pontiac Trail, and we got lost. And when I say lost, I mean very, very lost. We were with Ryan Shork as well, and we wandered for at least 3 hours trying to find our way back on the trail. And when I look back on that moment, I think to myself, I could have given up right then and there. I could have said, no, let's not get back on the trail. Let's just go back the way we came. Let's not finish. And that made me think about that same comment about what if one day I just decide to give up? I couldn't do that. I've made it too far. I care too much about it. And that day helped me realize that that capability was always within me. The idea that I didn't have to give up, the idea that I could always persevere, even if something seems so unbelievably ridiculous that I might as well just stop doing it. And Ms. Mannanen brought this up earlier too. We went trail cooking, and we didn't bring forks, which is a minor inconvenience, but at the time, you don't really want to eat mac and cheese with sticks. And as I kept going through my scouting journey, I realized that these bumps in the road are things that you will just have to go through. And that's when I realized that I never was going to wake up one day and decide that I didn't want to be an Eagle Scout, because I've always had it in me to know that things will be hard, things will be annoying sometimes, but I'll always want to do them. And I have to thank Scoutmaster Chuck Williams, Mr. Greg Hooker, Mr. Pernick especially, for helping me with the emails. There's a very long string of emails to organize my board review. I have to thank Kouta and Nithin for always being there with me along my scouting journey, made campouts a lot less lonely. I have to thank Ms. Manninen for being incredibly significant into how I view service in my community. Before I wasn't so inclined to consider the effects that I could have on my community, the positive effects. But as my tenure as an instructor, I realized that I'm capable of so much more. And as I go into the future, I've really been made aware of what I'm capable of, not just within myself, but around others. So thank you.
I want you to know that was all done without notes. Said walked up here with no notes at all. And as someone who speaks for a living, I spent my career as a lawyer in court every day. I'd never walk up here without any notes. But Said, as a measure of how well prepared he is, stood up here without notes, and delivered those comments contemporaneously. Nice work. And next, for his comments on his Eagle Scout Award, I'd like to present Eagle Scout Kouta Horiguchi. Kouta?
All right. So unlike these guys here, I'd like to keep my speech very short and crisp. So here I go. First of all, I want to thank everyone who sacrificed their time to come to this Court of Honor. And I know it's a weekend and y'all want to sleep in and watch TV and stuff, but instead, y'all chose to come here, and I'm very grateful that you did. Next, I want to thank all the instructors and leaders right here who helped me achieve this badge. And as much as I've dedicated my time trying to get this badge, they have also spent so much time guiding me through my scouting journey, and I want to thank them for that. And lastly, and most importantly, I want to thank my parents who supported me, who fed me, who truly believed in who I am and what I'm capable of. And I truly can't thank them. I truly can't thank them enough, and I really hope that one day I can give something back to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Kouta. As often observed, less is more. That was very nicely done. Very nice job. And next, I'd like to call on Eagle Scout Nithin Ramkumar for his comments on being an Eagle Scout. Nithin?
All right. So I'm going to start off quite sentimental. And I wanted to thank my mom and dad, first and foremost, for being here with me today. When we first came to this country, their goal was simple: to give me and my sister, hi sister, a better life. At first, I had no clue what a better life meant, especially when we just had a fresh start and our future was quite uncertain. But now, it's safe to say that this country means more than just a place to live for me. It's been a place where I've formed the strongest bonds, made the best memories, and I've been able to cherish the gifts that Scouting has offered. In other words, they've reached their goal. They put a roof over my head, they gave me clothes to wear, and they gave me food to eat every day. But most of all, they give me the drive to be me, to be Nithin Ramkumar, to be a studious person who keeps his head up, and for that, I will always keep them close to my heart. My life has been nothing but amazing here, and Scouting has taught me what it truly means to be an American citizen who loves and gives back to their country. Amma, Appa, thank you for believing in me when I couldn't. You guys are truly my heroes. I just want to give a quick round of applause for them. They're amazing. In addition, I'd like to thank my friends who are here to meet me today. You guys decided to take the time out of the weekend to come here, and I really appreciate that. And in addition, as they've talked before, you require recommendation letters from people who can speak to your character in order to be Eagle. So I wanted to take some time to thank those people who recommended me for the rank of Eagle, including my amazing teachers, Mr. David Bjorklund, Mrs. Andrea Gohl, and the amazing Mrs. Muldar, who is also in the crowd today. I'm eternally grateful to you that you could see the Eagle Scout within me, and I also thank you for dealing with the constant messages and nagging for a letter. Your support means the absolute world to me. In addition, I wanted to thank all the friends that I've made in Scouting for seeing me for who I am, a friend and a companion. I always try to be outgoing, and sometimes I do feel the stress of school and life. However, every Tuesday evening, when I decide to put on my Class A and come to this church every week, I get greeted by new faces, faces that I don't see in school, faces that I can look at and know that I can make a positive impact in their day. And in addition, I want to give my most sincere thanks to all of the Scoutmasters who put in the countless hours every week in order to make the lives of kids like me better. Thank you to Mr. Pernick for taking the time out of his day to write and introduce me. Thank you to Connie, who's not here, for making my time in venturing one of the best times of my life. And thank you to the countless other Scoutmasters that I've met, like Mr. Wilburn, Mr. Ely, both of them, and many more for making my time in this troop one to remember. I also especially wanted to thank Mrs. Eimel. It was through her kindness and laughter that I decided to come to my first troop meeting, and that, to me, was the beginning of a truly pivotal moment in my life. Last part. Lastly, I'd like to thank you, Chuck. You're truly a vital part of this troop. You saw me go from a flapjack who had no idea how to set up a tent to a proud Eagle Scout today. You made me realize that nothing is truly impossible. What felt like an unreachable feat ended up being one of my most strongest achievements. To be standing here and being honored for the rank of Eagle fills me with immense pride. Although I've earned the official rank of Eagle, you, Chuck, have shaped me into an Eagle. And to be able to stand up here and say that I had you as my Scoutmaster, it truly brings a smile to my face. Thank you for keeping Scouting alive, and I'll always remember you as my favorite person to see on a Tuesday evening. Thank you all for being part of my Scouting journey.
Thank you, Nithin. When Nithin and I were talking about the comments that we were going to think about for the presentation, I listened to what he had to say, and I said, Nithin, you should start saving for law school. And after hearing comments from all of these gentlemen here, I think they all ought to start saving for law school, even if they don't want to be lawyers. We need good lawyers. So the families invite you all to join at the close of our ceremony in the fellowship hall for some fellowship. And with that, I declare this court of honor adjourned.